where life is
7 o'clock on the family station, Love 101. It's time for the Morning Watch with host Stokeley Marshall.
This program may discuss and or mention topics and issues that may be of a sensitive nature or require parental guidance.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, a discussion on human rights related issues and mid-part 2. And in the second watch, protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes. Part 2. In our social media question, we ask, how informed are you about your human rights? How and when do you try to find out what your human rights are? Share your responses on our Facebook page or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp, comment, and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the Morning Watch as your hashtag. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote. Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. James Baldwin.
Interesting. Children have never, been very good at listening to their elders, but they have. Interesting one there, Shivani.
Indeed, yes.
The main watch. We'll be back after this break.
At Digicel, we rate you like family. So we'll make you these 5 promises. We will provide you with the best LTE and broadband experience. We will support you 24/7. We will be transparent, no hidden charges or tricky terms and conditions. We will elevate your digital experience. We will listen to your feedback and reward your loyalty. We will keep these 5 promises to you because together we are so much better. Digicel, better together.
Tropical Race 4 disease, TR4, is a soil-borne disease that has the potential to wipe out the Jamaican banana and plantain crops. Farmers and visitors must disinfect shoes and tools before entering farms daily. If your banana or plantain crops seem to be wilting, call the Banana Board at 876-922-5490 or 876-922-4327. Jamaica Banana Board. Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment.
Jamaica! The JCDC is now accepting entries for its 2021 competitions. And this year, we have gone fully virtual. Entries are now open for the following competitions: Jamaica Festival Song, Jamaica Gospel Song, Miss Jamaica Festival Queen, Culinary Arts, Speech, Music, Drama and Theatre, Creative Writing, and Visual Arts. Visit the JCDC website at www.jcdc.gov.jm to register your complete entries. If you don't have internet access or you have a disability or any other challenge, please call or visit your parish office for assistance. See the JCDC website for competition guidelines. What are you waiting for? Sign up now and follow your dreams. The JCDC, the place where stars are born.
Hey boy, you think it a go so? Watch me and you.
Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing. 1 Peter 3 and verse 9. Let's work together to make Jamaica a gentler, kinder society. A message from the Church of the Open Bible, 12 Washington Boulevard. Join our worship service Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on Love 101.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now, yesterday we started a discussion on issues related to human rights and the National Identification and Registration System, which is currently in draft form. There was a previous law which was struck down by the courts. There's a new draft law or bill. And this morning we want to continue from where we left off in this discussion. Our guest again, this is Helene Coley-Nicholson, attorney at law and president of the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, and I would of course indicate to the listeners that I'm also a member of this fellowship, and I sit on the executive. Mrs. Coley-Nicholson is the president, and of course today I am here as host. Mrs. Coley-Nicholson, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Marshall. Good morning to your listeners.
Yes. Now, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson, you indicated that there were a number of questions you wanted to raise in relation to the current NIDS bill. Of course, it being an abbreviation for the National Identification and Registration System. Now, many persons may be asking themselves, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson seems to be raising questions or seems to be raising, matters that, don't seem to be ones where you can sort of put your finger on it and say, this is in fact so. People might wonder if there is conjecture, but you have indicated that you can in fact substantiate what you're saying. What are some of the questions you want to raise, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson, that you either didn't have the full opportunity to raise before, or that you would like to raise again in the public domain? What are some of those questions about this you want to ask?
Well, at this stage, Stokely, what I'm really asking are questions so that people can be informed, because one of the things the Prime Minister said is that this is going to be a voluntary program. I think we need to have all the information in order to give full consent. And so Jamaica is riding a tide, and it's a tide along which other countries, together it's over 100 countries of the world that have begun or are or have implemented digital identification systems with a single database.
With a single database. Explain what you mean with a single database.
In something like what our NIDS is supposed to be, operated by the national authority that we're setting up. So all of the identity information will be stored in one single database owned by the government of Jamaica. And as I understand it, quite a number of countries have already done it. Jamaica is contemplating it. There's India, Malawi, Peru, Pakistan, and a lot of others. And it's quite a number, because this project has been ongoing for quite a number of years.
So what are some of the questions you want to raise in relation to this matter, this matter of this database?
Yes. The context, which is the global context, which is what I was pointing to just now, makes one want to find out. And the fact also that the money is coming from the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank. The IDB is the regional...
Some would say, what's wrong with that? We're getting a loan from the IDB.
The IDB is the regional affiliate of the World Bank, which is affiliated, it's an agency of the United Nations. And it is the World Bank, the IDB, that's been funding these various NID type ventures.
Here in Jamaica,
and so against the background, and we spoke yesterday about the objectives of the ID 2020 and the ID 4D program, which are programs of the United Nations and the World Bank, where one of the objectives, and I am coming to the question, one of the objectives of the World Bank program is, quote, reaching the Sustainable Development Goals, one identity, one country at a time. Yes? And the ID 2020 program is about providing identification through technologies to the world's population. So,
a quick question here. The ID 2020, is it affiliated with one of the entities or both, World Bank and IDB, or just one of them?
Two different programs. The ID 2020 program is a program of the United Nations. The ID 4D program is a program of the World Bank.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes. So against that background, we want to know, will our government have complete autonomy over our national identification system and database? By autonomy, I mean, will we be able to own it, to control it, to determine what happens to the data? Are there things that are understood as between government and the provider of the funding, given the objectives of the funder? And is there a relationship, more specifically?
Oh, you're asking the question. You're asking the questions now, Mr. Coley-Nicholson.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you're making a statement or asking a question. Okay, so that was the first question. The first question is, can you repeat
Will
it?
our government have complete autonomy over our national identification system and database?
Yes.
Is there a relationship between the NID and the World Bank's ID 4D program?
You're asking that the first question. Okay. What's the second question?
Specific question. It's a second question. It's a more specific question.
Yes.
Is there a relationship between the NIDS and the World Bank's ID 4D program? The United Nations ID 2020 program.
All right.
Okay. Now, the ID 4D program is setting up global infrastructure for citizen ID programs. And these are not my words. And I'd invite all of our listeners to take to look at the website. Which website? World Bank website. I can tell you the World Bank website, www.org/en/PROGRAM/ID4D#2.
I see.
Yes? And
Okay.
there's another same address ending with number 8 or #8. So these are
we're about a minute or so from the break. Are there any other questions you wanted to state now before we head to that break? Any further questions or other questions rather?
Those are in essence the questions, but there are some. So even as I'm asking the question about the infrastructure, I'd want to just add some objectives so people understand the importance of the question. So that I mentioned that it is about developing a global infrastructure for the ID program. I want to just read into the record the aims of the program, because in understanding the aims of the program, you will see the similarity and the potential for some of the objectives that our Prime Minister has been touting. So we in Jamaica have been saying that this is the answer. We've got to get our needs because it is important to succeed in the 4th Industrial Revolution. That's what our Prime Minister told the people in Parliament.
Yes, and I believe the opposition as well is comfortable with this. So I mean, person may be wondering what is the challenge that you're raising. But anyway, we are upon the break. We are upon the break. We will continue the discussion after the break. Please stay with us. We will go.
Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Banana Board is
7:15.
Bashco time. All the things that you need for your home and price is so low, you will never need a loan at Bashco. At Bashco. Appliances, household furniture and rugs, east side linens and glass and mugs at Bashco. You're shopping at Bashco. Whether the north or south, in the east and the west, Bashco, them all over, they must be the best at Bashco. At Bashco. You're shopping at Bashco. At Bashco. Giving you more.
Hey, just when we thought life lost its flavor, we discovered new ways to spice it up. With this Juicy Patties promo we've got for you. Buy 3 patties and 2 Coca-Cola and get the 4th patty for free. Come to Juicy Patties and spice things up with Coca-Cola. Juicy Patties, serious about Jamaican food.
Squeeze the flavor. Squeeze out the juice drink, my favorite fruit drink. I'm only choosing what makes me tune in. That squeeze, yeah, buckle or box please. Yeah, popular on street, yeah, apple or red peach. Squeeze out the real stinger with the lunch or your dinner. What a punch it up in abundance for the winner. That squeeze, the buckle of them away. Like I made, me rocking that in the shade. I make your pass for me. Go ramp with me. Come on for me. I'm a love for me. Like my strawberry. I'm a appleberry. Let's go. Release the flavor. Let's go. Release the flavor.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We're speaking to Mrs. Helene Coley-Nicholson. She's an attorney at law and president of the Lawyers Christian Fellowship. We are looking at the whole topic of human rights related issues and needs. And just before the break, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson, you're making an interesting point there as it relates to in terms of the aims of the system. And but before you proceed, though, Mr. Coley-Nicholson, I want to raise something with you because some persons listening might ask, how does this affect my human rights? We know that generally speaking, human rights speaks to your rights as a human being, as a person, and things that impact you directly. How do you foresee that some of the questions and concerns you're raising could have an impact on your personal human rights, my personal human rights, the human rights of every single solitary listener of this program this morning, as it relates to persons, us here being Jamaican, and the relevant information that you're indicating could end up, I think that's what you're saying, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that could end up in a global database. Is that what you're trying to say, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson? And if so, what are the things that would affect us?
There are 2 things that the Prime Minister has assured this country in this second iteration of the NID. The first having been struck down by the full court because of the several breaches of our constitutional fundamental rights and freedoms. 2 things that I recall are this assurance that it will be not compulsory, but with the consent. Persons.
I think we're clear on that. The fact that you said it would be voluntary,
and the voluntariness of it, and also the ownership of our identity information.
That we the citizens would remain owners of our own identity information.
Yes. The Prime Minister said, and I'm quoting again, identity information is the property of the individual, and his or her consent, which is why I was mentioning consent, is required for it to be collected, stored, and used by anyone. You see, if you don't, ownership of it's a property right. Notice he's saying it's the property of the individual. But what is the importance of this property? With this information, you can control so many things that the individual can and cannot do. the scope or range of activities that can be controlled, particularly in a digital economy and particularly in a global digital economy.
Right. I want to stick up in them, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson. Stick up in them, Mrs. Coley-Nicholson, because of course there's never enough time on the morning watch, and we need to be very clear. Are you concerned that somehow the information on a NIDS platform or database, as the case may be, could end up in a global database? Is that what you're indicating?
I'm asking questions.
Oh, you're asking. Okay.
I'm asking questions of the Prime Minister, which I think are reasonable, and the government, which are.
So are you asking? So stick up in one. Stick up in. Can you just stick up in? Are you asking whether the information on a NID system could end up in a global database? Is that what you're asking?
Absolutely. Which is the purpose of a question: will our government have complete autonomy over our NID, our database?
Well, who else would have the autonomy over it, because they are the government? So, I mean, what is the concern there, if you could chisel it down? Because some people might say to themselves, I don't mind if the government has my information. It is for my own protection and security, to help fight crime, etc., etc., etc. So some people might be saying, well, what's the big deal?
Not just to help fight crime, and there is we have no proof, no statistical information to substantiate the suggestion that NIDS is going to help us to reduce crime.
Okay, I see.
But there are other reasons why it has been mooted in other countries. They've said it will help them to fight terrorism. It will help with terrorist threats. It will provide fraud-proof identification information, none of which really has proven true in a lot of the real-world experiences in places like Nigeria, in the UK, in Kenya, in Spain, in Iraq, in China, those places. There are a lot of real-world experiences that can be studied, and more questions arise when you look at what has happened and what has been the experience of a number of other countries. So, and I think the question that we're asking, is there a connection? Is there a possibility of our data being utilized by the global, by the United Nations, for example? Because remember, the executive director of the United Nations ID 2020 program has said that the details of the new global identity system are being worked out, but she imagined, and she was saying this to a summit, that it would evolve into a database overseen by an international non-aligned organization like the United Nations. What the Prime Minister said is that our NIDS is going to be set up to do a number of things to facilitate ease of business, a variety of economic and civic functions, financial services. We already have in Jamaica digital currency legislation, as I understand it, was passed to facilitate the issuing of digital currency at the Bank of Jamaica. If you look in your newspaper, even today, there is one headline that I saw in the wee hours this morning about setting up the digital business divide, erasing that between Jamaican business and other businesses outside of Jamaica. So we're trying to establish the financial services. This is according to the Prime Minister. The uses, pension payments, financial services, both government, private sector. Access to education, healthcare, digital passport, voting, all those wonderful things. Those are goods and services that the public and private sector will offer. And we're increasingly trying to digitize those offerings. What is it that the World Bank and the United Nations are trying to do through this? And by the way, the funding for these various programs in the various countries around the world has come primarily from the World Bank.
And again, some persons may ask, what's the challenge with that? But alas, never enough time on the morning watch. What are some of the... Well, first
May
of
I
all,
just point to some real-world experiences?
Go ahead.
First of all, you can see here that there is already the sharing of information through the identification programs that have been established, so that they've already begun sharing data on terrorists, people they call terrorists, and refugees. By the way, that same Ms. Bruna from ID 2020, she is on record as saying that refugees could be a useful test audience for this database, the global database that is being established, before expanding the new ID infrastructure, because that's what it is. It's an infrastructure. We're setting up our infrastructure in Jamaica, but the purpose or the guidance being given, and by the way, the technology is coming from entities that are certified by the United Nations. So we're using technology. And if you go on the website, you will see that there's already a certification of the providers of the technology. And so if the United Nations certifies the provider, then they have no certification. And the point is that they're trying to establish these systems which are interoperable, even if in the first instance they are not. They must have the capability of being integrated, interoperable, and to be able to mutually recognize each other, the information, the data, to utilize it, to ultimately establish an infrastructure for a common global digital market. And refugees and terrorists are the test cases, even as we speak, where the information is already being shared.
Understood. And you're indicating, you're saying that what you just said is based on what has been said by the individual you referred to a couple moments ago.
What has been said and what is in fact happening, which can be discovered by anyone caring to confirm
to do their own research.
And in terms of the real world experience of Christians in Iraq and in China, let me tell you a little bit about what is happening.
We have about a minute or two, so tell us quickly.
Yes, let me tell you about Iraq. The law in Iraq has been used as a form of discrimination against Muslim minorities. And there is systematic discrimination against Christians. And non-Muslim, for example, and of course you'd have to be able to, through the data, track the religious persuasion of the individual. And they're able to do that, and they're able to control the activities. A non-Muslim may switch his religion according to the law in Iraq. And a minor is registered as Muslim following a conversion of any of the parents to Islam, but not the other way around. So a child born in a marriage between a Muslim and a non-Muslim automatically takes the religion of the Muslim, regardless of whether it's male or female or mother or father. In China,
in the interest of time, how does that connect in relation to our discussion this morning, human rights related issues?
Increasingly, Christians are being called hate groups, members of hate groups. Increasingly, we're seeing Christians losing their jobs and being imprisoned for preaching the word of God. The Bible is parts of the Bible are said to be the expression of sheer hate, and there are attempts, even in this country, Jamaica, to reinterpret the clear wording and expression of the Bible, and those who speak against this attempted reinterpretation are being called.
We're almost out of time, Coley-Nicholson. But
just a step to the cause.
I'm not aware of anything being in the current bill that would in any way discriminate against a Christian, but I don't pretend to know every single sentence of the document. Are you seeing a connection or a potential connection that would raise some of the matters you just brought up?
That people must understand and ask questions of the government, whether or not we are able to control our data. Because if we have control of our data, if we retain our sovereignty, then we will be able to influence the laws of this country and ensure that what has happened in other countries cannot
Doesn't
happen
happen
in
here.
Jamaica.
I think
We
we're
lose
totally out of
control.
time, Mr. Coley-Nicholson, but I want to quickly squeeze this in. You raised these questions with the government already, with the Joint Select Committee, I should to be more specific. Have you gotten any responses to those questions as yet?
We have gotten no response. And unlike others who were able to orally address the committee.
And to be clear, the questions you raised on the morning watch this morning, those are the same questions or almost the same questions you raised with the Joint Select Committee?
We raised the question of the autonomy. We raised the question of the connection between the NIDS and the World Bank and the United Nations.
And you haven't gotten a response yet?
And we have had no response.
Have to leave it there this morning because we're totally out of time. I want to thank you for your time and for returning to elaborate this morning on the concerns from a human rights perspective.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate
We'll be right back on the morning watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:31.
Yummy jamboree, the yummy roll up the sweet and ties. Jam in a miggle, make everything nice. Never taste nothing like this before. One bite and you will crave for more. Hey, nice, man. What a vibes with me. Coming from what a vibe is a jamboree. What a jamboree. A yummy roll me need. Yummy jamboree. Join the jamboree. Run down to the corner shop or supermarket and hold your snack. Yummy jamboree jam roll. Celebrate the flavor. Come celebrate yummy jamboree.
Engineers, architects, builders, students of the built environment, here's your chance to contribute to national development. Submit your architectural designs for low-cost, sustainable and climate-resilient houses under the National Social Housing Program Design Competition. Download and complete a registration form from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation's website and submit individually or with your team by 4 p.m. on May 25. Email completed application forms to lowcosthousingdesign@megjc.gov.jm, and just like that, you could be on your way to competing for the grand prize of $1 million. For rules, regulations, and competition guidelines, visit megjc.gov.jm and opm.gov.jm.
Are you ready to bring home some boldness? Well, it's easier than you think. Bring the boldness of Berger to your living room, kitchen, and entire house this Labor Day and get 12% off selected paints until May 31st or while stocks last. Imagine that! 12% off your favorite colors. Create bold moments with your family this Labor Day with Berger. Berger for lasting beauty and protection.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here on the front page of the Daily Observer a very sad story here indeed. More details at page 3 of the same newspaper. Man, wife, shot, dead in Portland. More of that at page 3 of the Daily Observer, and that story is by Everard Owen, Observer correspondent. We also have on the front page of the Daily Observer, Save Tourism. Industry workers encouraged to get COVID-19 vaccine to help attract more visitors to the island. That one by Althea Saunders. We also have here another matter of concern. Indicom starts probe in fatal Trafalgar Road shooting, and more of that story at page 9 of the Daily Observer. Turning to the Gleaner, we have here on the front page of the Gleaner, vaccine worry. concerned that low tourism worker take-up might push visitors to rivals. And another story here of some interest. Teen mom comes full circle. More of that at page A6 of the Gleaner. And there's a photograph here on the front page of the Gleaner. Cedrica Williams of Homer Technical High School. This is the caption under the picture. Cedrica Williams of Homer Technical High School makes a record-breaking heave of 47.04 meters to win the girls' class to discus at the National Stadium in Kingston on Wednesday. The Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships enters its third day of action today. Well, of course, coming up next, we'll retrace some feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, how informed are you about your human rights? How and when do you try to find out what your human rights are? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook page or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes. So 876-997-3125 using hashtag Good Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
We love a good memory and throwback, and Hope Rocks will be doing just that this weekend in fine style. Grab the entire family and sit for a while, especially the picnic them, and tune in this weekend as we take a trip down memory lane with the JCDC Children's Gospel Song Competition. Tune in this Saturday, May 15, inside Hope Rocks as we share highlights from previous years of the JCDC Children's Gospel Song Competition. Oh yeah, we're putting some of those performances on rewind, and it's gonna be happening in fine style inside Hope Rocks this Saturday, May 15 at 8 p.m. in the Gospel Music Machine with Nigel Wilkinson, and you'll see me, Nadine Blair, and it will be live on Love 101's Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Hope Rocks, the JCDC Children's Gospel Song Competition Rewind Edition, a part of the Child Month celebration right here on the family station, Love 101, broadcasting to the nation. Woohoo!
Whoa, 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 listen when.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Shivani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. How informed are you about your human rights? How and when do you try to find out what your human rights are? Shivani.
All right, a comment here, from the first watch. This one says, when privacy is invaded, individual autonomy is lost, control takes place, and human rights is lost, sovereignty of nations is jeopardized, adds, it is an issue of control versus freedom. All right. Well, let me see if there's any on the text line. No. So we leave it there. Keep the conversation going, folks.
Well, we move into the second watch. It's Child's Month. And while there is a lot to cheer about, to be proud about, praise God about, as it concerns our children, there is a very sad reality that still too many of our children have become prey to evil hands and hearts. One too many. Now, this week, on Tuesday, we discussed some of the issues that contributed to this state. But this morning, in part two of this conversation, we are looking at the church's role. We have online this morning Pastor Dexter Johnson, National Director, Jamaica Youth for Christ, YSC. We also have Claudette, Pious, co-founder and executive director of Children First. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you both?
Bless your lady first.
Pastor Johnson, Ms. Pious.
Bless you.
Hello, morning.
Good morning, Ms. Pious. How are you?
I'm blessed, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Starting with you, Pastor Johnson, because in large measure, this part to stems or emanates from a question raised with you on the last occasion when we spoke on the Morning Watch this week. And you made mention of the fact that a lot of children are no longer attending Sunday school. And you seem to be of the view, and I think it's a view that many people can identify with, that the breakdown of, I don't want to say the breakdown of the Sunday school system, but the fact that so many children these days are not attending, at least attending Sunday school, could be a contributing factor to people's hearts becoming a little bit more callous. And so they're more inclined to just kill children and, do all sorts of atrocities to children. Sir, what do you think the church can do at this time to sort of, as it were, reinvigorate a Sunday school movement across the length and breadth of the island? Who knows, maybe even using the existing technologies that are out there, the digital technologies, in light of the restrictions we're currently facing. How can the church engage with the children from now, and even some of the older children? Sometimes when we say children, we tend to think of only those below 10 or below 12, but children right up to 17, almost touching 18. How can we re-engage them or engage them to hopefully instill the values that will, we pray, cause less of the ill effects we're seeing? Pastor Johnson.
Yeah, bless you. What I'm sure about is we have to get to the place where the church is more than just a structure, that beautiful building that we are seeing in community, but it has to be the place that impact and change lives.
Yes.
A number of years ago, when I just looked at how can we impact, how do we make the difference for the church tomorrow? The question was asked, where does the salvation work begins? And it really begins in Sunday school. So out of a study that was done way back then, had shown that up to 8 out of every 10 child that attend Sunday school, grow up in Sunday school, will make a lifetime decision to serve the Lord. And I've gone to several places, and I've just asked the congregants to indicate, before you said yes to the Lord, were you a part of a Sunday school? Yes. We have to get back to that place where we understand that, yes, the church is vital to the outcome of our children. So we have to reach them. So where we are now, we are at a place where our very church people won't stop long enough to allow their children to remain in Sunday school because of busy schedule. So our children are grown by different devices. We have to get back to basis where the church and the church community matter, where we understand that the younger adults can teach these little ones as we move up together. And the church must ensure that on our program and the things that we do is not just a once a year that we have a children's day, but we must make a monthly activity that the children become a part of the very church service. Have them praying, have your children choir singing, but do things. When we return to norm, and I don't know when that will be, but we are in a serious crisis right now because the school is suffering, so Sunday school is happening. We don't have enough children tuning in online to continue with Sunday school. And who is responsible to make that happen? It has to be the parents. And the church must get involved where it means that we must help with the devices that is needed, help with the data that is needed, whatever we need to give to them to make this happen. Let our worship centers become areas that people can gather with safe distance. And if 10 is allowed, then we find a way to impact them. If we have to impact them every day of the week, once they're out of school hours, then we can pull them in and just try to guide them. Because if we refuse to train up the child in the way they are to grow, then what is going to be the outcome is what we have now, a nation that is in crisis. What we have now is a village that no longer care for its children. And what is sad is when we are saying that a church community that is not caring. We have to be seen as care. Our children are more important than our barbecues and our fish fry and our church rallies. and that. We have to get where it matters. Children Crusade matters. Impacting life, do things to reach them and allow them to be a part. So I really say a mouthful, but I really am passionate enough to say, if we are going to save this nation, I got saved at age 14. And I grew up in Sunday school. In fact, I went to 2 Sunday school because I was christened in the Catholic Church. So I had to go to the Catholic Sunday school and take my communion.
I'm going to ask you to hold that thought 1 second, Pastor Johnson, because we're up on a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're tuned to Love 101, the family station, approaching 7:46.
Everyday living, we make it worthwhile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! From kitchen to bathroom, a whole heap of tile. Home and things for everyday living. Nice up your home, fix up every room. Shop every day, shop real value. Fixtures and faucets to catch your eye. We have the options, we have the style. Everyday living, so versatile. Real people, real value. Oh, what a style! Lowest price guarantee on everything you see. Home and things for everyday living.
49 years later and still going strong. Under the Law helps you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesdays by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, providing opportunity, stability, and social protection. Under the Law, Tuesdays at 6:20 a.m., 2:55, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Okay, love, make a list. For the fritters, we're gonna need to buy saltfish. Okay, flour. Got it. Scotch bonnet. Yep. What about eggs? You're right. We do need some liquid self-contained investment packages that appreciate over time until a breakpoint results in delicious dividends. You writing this down?
When you use InvestorCore, you start to think like a stockbroker. Visit InvestorCoreJamaica.com to learn how. Powered by Sagicor Investments.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We're in the second watch, and the topic is protecting children from murder, rape, incest, and other crimes, part 2. And our guest today, Pastor Dexter Johnson, National Director, Jamaica Youth for Christ, YFC. He was our guest on Tuesday, and he's back again today, joining us for this part 2. Was not in the discussion with us on Tuesday, but is here today, Claudette Pious, co-founder and executive director of Children First. Now, Pastor Johnson, you spoke quite a bit just before we went to that break at 7:45 thereabouts. And Miss Pious, you would have heard what Pastor Johnson had said. Any comments? I know that you are the executive director of Children First. It is not necessarily an organization that focuses on faith per se, but you have children coming to you from all walks of life, and some of these children may themselves be from Christian homes. Any comments in relation to what Pastor Johnson just said? Because it seems as if there is a lot of work to be done to save the children from abuse and to save these children from becoming abusers. Any comments?
Quite a lot of comments, sadly. I really want to agree with Pastor Johnson that, we have to look at the church and the role the church will play in changing the whole mindset and giving Jamaica hope. We really have to look, though, at how is the church presented in this modern day Jamaica? Yeah? And we need to talk to the children and help them to help us in planning these Sunday school and these programs for them, because we have a way of, as adults, to plan for the children, and it's not reaching them at all. So we need to have that discussion. I really want to also say that the church really has a major role to play overall, because as a nation, I spoke to some young people yesterday, and they were saying, "Oh, Jamaica feel like it lost, and the adults are hypocrites because we're blaming them, and it's not about them. It's the fact that there's a lot going on." They spoke about demon worship. They spoke about cults. They spoke about values and attitudes. So I think we need to stop. As a nation, we have to stop. We are a set of hypocrites. We're going around and we're pontifying, and it's 9-day wonder, and we're talking, and sometimes it's not even 9 days.
Miss Pious, I know I'm cutting into what you're saying, Miss Pious, but you mentioned 3 items a few moments ago. One of them, or the first one, being demon worship. Tell us what the young people, or give us a gist as to what the young people meant or were talking about, if you can.
Okay, so the young people are saying that from where some of them see this whole Jesus thing has failed them, because they're praying and them not get rich quick and they're not getting what they want. And some of the role models that they're seeing out there are actually achieving all these things. And I say, and they call the name, and I say achieving and going to prison. And they say that is just a phase. They still have their money. So what is it that is attracting these young people? Yeah.
So stick a pin. Are they saying that part of the reason why the person or persons like that are becoming wealthy or rich is because they worship demons?
Yes, that's what they're saying.
I see.
Yeah.
And so these young people are being attracted to that and saying, regardless of the fact that it might be considered negative, they are prepared to wink an eye at it and pursue demon worship regardless.
Exactly, and it's not. I think we need to. This is serious. This is very serious for us. We need to stop. We need to stop. I was hoping and praying that when the curfew story, with a series of serious fasting and prayer for our nation, and I mean everybody at all levels who can and will, because look here now, we have lost it.
Okay.
We have lost it. And the only way we can find it is if we stop. We have to stop. Yeah?
Stick up in there, Miss Pious, and I know I'm cutting into, but never enough time in the morning. Watch Pastor Johnson.
Yes.
Pastor Johnson.
Yes, I'm with you.
And comment on everything Miss Pious just said, but she said something very critical. She mentioned that young people that she's interfacing with, some of them or whichever ones of them, it brought up the whole matter of demon worship. And you just heard what Miss Pious said. Some of the young people are turning to evil spirits, demonic spirits, because they think this is their way to riches and wealth. And they are being attracted to that more than to Jesus, because they are praying and not getting rich. Trying my best to quote her. Any reaction, Pastor Johnson, because we're talking about trying to reach the young people to save them from these crimes and to save them from perpetrating these crimes? So, in a second or two, can you comment?
Yeah. So true. The reality is we do have a nation and a set of young people that has gotten into a get-rich-quick culture, and by any means, who are the persons they watch and look at? They look at a number of our entertainers, those who are doing it. So the reality is everybody wants a fancy car, a big house, and name brand overnight. It is the church that has always been that solid ground that says to the person, there is a way to achieve. There's a way to stick.
Pick up in 1 second, Pastor. I know you're saying what you're saying, and it's all good. But what about some of these young people? And I'm not cheering on any pastor now. We're not doing that on the morning watch. But some young people will look at some of the pastors who, based on how they preach and how they present themselves, they're seeing the trappings of wealth as well on them, So how do you say that in a context where they're seeing some preachers living fairly modest lives, but the ones who they see sometimes on the internet and on television, there is this, and they see the glitz and the glamour, and they see the trappings of wealth, and they might want that too and say, well, how comes I am praying and not getting that? Any comment?
Well, and that is so true. It is correct that we do have ministers and living fancy life and all of that. And once they are at that level where it's honestly and through pure means that God would have blessed them and they reach their fine, we need to say to them that not everybody is going to get there overnight. Where we have failed as ministers to present that this is what the reality of life is, you're going to have fancy vehicle and everything is happening. We have to stop and say what is the real reality? The reality is we are going to trust God together. We are going to pray. We are going to level the playing field so people understand, what that with the millions of those who serve God, you're seeing a handful of wealthy people. And we understand a God that cares about all of us at all levels. So we are not preaching that coming to Christ is going to make you super rich. What we are preaching is that we are going to declare that if you live an honest life, then God will direct, God will take care of you. And we show equally those of us among them that God has been taking care of without just running to those who have gotten there by different means. We have those who have worked hard and have written a lot of books and have done a lot of things, and so they have gained what they have in a good way. There are others we have concern about, but the reality is we must put the balance. Get them in a forum. One of the critical things is once we get them talking, they will talk. Our job is to offer the role model, to say to them, listen,
hold that thought because we're almost out of time already. Miss Pious, children first. What recommendations would you make, if any? Maybe you're doing it already, but what recommendations would you make to help tackle the crisis we're facing? Because we need to make sure that we do our best to prevent children from being victims of these terrible things, as well as trying to make sure that they don't end up perpetrating these very things on others, the murder, the incest, and the rape.
We need to understand the profile of the pedophiles. We need to look at our mental health. We need to go back to values and attitudes. The church, we need to look at national prayer and fasting. We need
national prayer and fasting,
national prayer and fasting. And we need to look at the value of life in a real way.
Very interesting.
We are stylishly saying it takes a village to raise a child. And we wind up our mouth and we talk. But it also takes a village to protect our children.
It also takes a village to protect our children. Pastor Johnson, in a second or two, we're almost out of time. Your final thoughts there along the same lines that Ms. Pious just said.
Solid. It's our God-given responsibility to just watch.
What about the idea of national prayer and fasting, sir?
A powerful one, but I go a little further that we are going to let the children pray. There is no other more powerful prayer than calling children from across this nation and pulling them into a time of prayer. There's something that is sincere about a child's praying.
What about the village protecting our children? Because sometimes the village is not necessarily protecting the children. What about what about ensuring that the village protects the children? Your comment?
The Matthew 18:6 sum it up nicely, but if anyone calls one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hang around it. Solid.
Is the YFC or more?
Sorry, say that.
Is the YFC implementing anything at this time or putting in any policy at this time along these lines, or more to come?
We continue to work with schools via the different program they have. We go in for there and join them in their Christian Emphasis Week. We join them as it reaches us, the boys only, the girls only. And what we do is offer the mentors.
Sounds like a little bit of both, including some more to come. Have to hold it there this morning, have to leave it there this morning. Ms. Pious, thank you. Pastor Johnson, thank you very much. Our listeners, it is Child's Month, of course, and we want to thank you for being with us today. For information on how to get copies of the program, call our production department at 876-968-95-967. Download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us. It's the family station, Love 101 FM. This has been the Morning Watch. Stay tuned. Next week, Tuesday, Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint will be back as we look at other controversial and topical issues. Thanks to Kathy Gale, our producer, and to our guest. I am Stokeley Marshall, and you're back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
Need financial breathing space? Switch to a Sagicor Bank mortgage and get a 2-month payment holiday.